What's up, you guys, and welcome to Booksicle. My name is Makayla. I am the owner of this channel, and I just figured, get to know me. We're gonna do some of my favorite books of all time. A lot of these are more recent reads as well, and it's definitely not all of them. If you want to look at my full list, I've linked to my Goodreads and Storygraph down below, and I have a list of all of my favorites on those. These are in no particular order, so I'm going to go ahead and start with Age of Vice by Deepti Kapoor. I believe I read this year. If not this year, it was definitely at the beginning or at the end of last year, very tail end of last year. And I loved it. It's equal parts mystery, crime drama, family syndicate, all that fun stuff within contemporary India. It is not a real story, but it definitely feels like it could be. The characters are written so deeply, and you love to hate them, but you also hate to love them at the same time. It shows all of their different flaws as well as the wealth disparity within India. The characters range from a playboy heir of this crime family all the way down to his servant, who actually, he's the first POV that you have, and the breaking down of human psyche, essentially. I loved it. I cannot tell you how much I loved it. I devoured this book. Next up is going to be one of the best series that I have ever read. It's going to be the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. I'm sure y'all have heard a lot of people raging about it, but this was one of the most satisfying endings to a series I have ever read. I actually read it when I had COVID and I was stuck at home. So I read probably half of the 5th season and then stopped, put it up for a few months, it was probably closer to a year, and then picked it up again. And I had to remember a little bit of what happened in it, but as soon as I read it, I was like, I'm gonna finish this series in 3 days. And I did. It was absolutely amazing. I wouldn't say it's a high fantasy, but it kind of is. You can see where real world is mimicked within this series, but it's also about a mother's love for her child. And that really shows in the last one. I cried. I definitely cried. If you want a really good, solid fantasy series, there's a reason these won the Hugo Awards 3 years in a row. She's the only author to do it. Next up is going to be probably my favorite fantasy of all time. If you can't tell, I'm a big fantasy reader. The Last Son by Katie Edwards. This book has been through some stuff. I think when I was reading it for the first time, I actually spilled water on it in my bag, so it's super water damaged, but this is my arc that I got probably, was it right before COVID hit? I believe either that or it was 2019. This was the first fantasy I ever read that was more adult fantasy. It wasn't YA at all. And I loved it. The characters are so snarky, so sarcastic. The platonic relationships are absolutely beautiful, and I thought it was hilarious. It's an urban fantasy set in Atlantis, or New Atlantis, and it follows all of these characters that are based around tarot cards. Absolutely loved it. If you haven't gotten a chance to read it yet, definitely do. I will give a trigger warning. The first book has a little bit more to do with a rape that happens to the main character, and you kind of see that throughout the series, but I think the most graphic is going to be the first one. You can definitely look up what page that is going to be on, so you can go ahead and skip it. All you have to do is have the idea of it. You don't need to know details. Moving on to one of my absolute favorite series of all time. It is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. He is probably my favorite author besides Katie Edwards. It's a dystopian set in a world where humans cannot die. You can be rendered deadish, but you cannot die. So to cull the population, scythes have to permanently kill people by selecting them, which can cause issues. There's a lot of AI. It's a lot more sci-fi than I thought it was going to be. I definitely thought it would be more fantasy, but he's really good at writing sci-fi and dystopians and kind of twisting our real world and all of the issues that happen in the real world in turning them into books. I hope you guys enjoyed. Go ahead and give it a like if you did. If you want to share some of your favorite books, down in the comments below. I would absolutely love to hear from you. I love hearing from other bookworms and finding out what makes everyone's favorite series a favorite, or favorite books a favorite, not necessarily series. So, but also if you've read some of these books, what did you think of them? It's okay if you didn't like them. Everyone has different tastes. But if you go check my description, I am active on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as Goodreads and Storygraph. So if you want to go check out those links down below, please go ahead. I try to follow as many other bookworms as possible. And if you want to see more content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.